Well, hello, that caught us a little bit off guard, didn't it? Yes, it's me again, Mike Hall, or better known as the Old Git. Yes, here today to edify you all. Now, a couple of things on my last video that I did. I was talking about the Fabian Society and how they control most of the MPs in this Labour communist government. But I want to have a look, just for a change, at what goes on in Prime Minister's Question Times and how ridiculous now Keir Starmer is beginning to look, because he just never answers a question, and he's always attacking the other side and blaming them for everything. I mean, he's been in government long enough now to start taking responsibility for his actions, but he won't. Now, there's two things I need to talk to you about before, and one is that I do believe that Starmer's government is being guided by the Fabians and the Fabian scientists, Tony Blair, all the other people who are involved in it. And as I said in that video that I did before, that the object is to destroy what we have, the democracy and your culture, take everything back to nothing, and then rebuild their form of utopian society, which is basically a communist society. Now, the other thing is that on a second front we have the Islamists, who are now taking over the country. There's no doubt they're taking over Europe. In fact, they're trying to take over America, and they are succeeding in many ways. For example, in Birmingham, as far as I'm concerned now, it's a caliphate. It's not controlled by the British government. They don't care about British laws. And that way, the country's culture and everything else gets destroyed. For example, there's pubs closing in London and all over the country. I know that they said that the Conservatives were responsible for about 7,000 pubs closing whilst they were in office, which incidentally was about 14 years. In the last, 13, 14 months that Keir Starmer has been in office, it's over 500 pubs have closed with the business rates. We'll go into that because part of the Prime Minister's Question Time that I want to look at was the one that they did in the last week, which is, what's the date today? It's the 17th. It'll be the Wednesday before the 17th of the 1st, 2026, just in case you're watching this in the future. Right, so why do you think that he doesn't care about pubs closing? Well, again, look at Sadiq Khan. He's a Muslim. He favours Muslims. And there's no doubt about it. He does. He wants more things for Muslims in London. But what thing is it that they don't like? They don't like alcohol and drinking. So shutting pubs is a great boost to their cause too. So you, as a British normal bod on the street, doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Hindu, Sikh, whatever you are, trying to make your way in this society that's going on in Britain, you're losing. This minority is taking over, and it's been allowed, and it's also been assisted by the government, the Labour government, because then they reach the goal that they want, which is total destruction of British culture, and they want to try and insist on building up from the ground up their new utopian society, which is rubbish, because if the Islamists get their way, they will get their way. But hey, let them carry on. Now, consider that only about, I think it's about 6% of the British population is Muslim. And I'm not saying but if and but because, not all. I'm just saying, right, many good Muslims. Don't tar everybody with the same brush. I mean, Zia Youssef, as I always use, fantastic man. Ben Habib, fantastic man. There's just so many. But they seem to be the ones that break out, conform to the society they live in, get on with making their business and their life, and live peacefully. And they still follow their religion, many of them do, but not as fanatics, not trying to take over the country that's invited them in, which is what these Islamists are doing. And basically, unfortunately, the way it is, I see it, that a lot of the so-called moderate Muslims will just follow because they're afraid they've seen what happens in countries where they don't conform. So they keep quiet and, they will conform to if they get taken over by these radical Islamists. It's coming. You got people like Tommy Robinson's been warning about the grooming gangs and all the other things that are going on for many, many years, and hardly just get lambasted and chucked in prison like many others do. An example of the two-tier system that's working now, where if you're just a normal bod, take the lady that got sent to jail for 31 months for a tweet, whereas you've got a couple of guys who broke the noses of policewomen in Manchester Airport with supreme violence, got trial, got convicted, but still walking the streets. People are going for making tweets or saying things that this government agree with, they get sent to prison. Whereas rapists who are coming in on boats, who are raping women, robbing shops, all sorts of atrocities going on, they get a slap on the hand, don't do it again. Don't rape them 14-year-old girls again, which is very sad. But let's move on. So let's get to the crux of what I'm talking about today. There's a theme. Now, I want you to think about these little clips. I mean, I've not done the whole of the question time because it's ridiculous. I just want to look at the exchanges between Starmer and Kemi. Okay, who I think holds her own very well in Parliament. Unfortunately, she won't have a government to be elected when the elections come round. But that's another story, I suppose. But she's doing quite well, and she stands her ground against the idiot Starmer. Now, first of all, I want you to watch this first clip of an exchange, and then we'll go into it, okay?
Let's look at some other things the Prime Minister didn't get right first time, starting with the family farms tax. Some farmers were so terrified they sold their farms last year only for the Prime Minister to U-turn 2 days before Christmas. Will he apologise for the misery he's caused countless farmers?
Mr. Speaker, the principle we put in place on inheritance tax is the right one, but I understand, Mr. Speaker, that she's taking advice on change. She had Nadeem Zahawi in to ask his advice, how to change and how to save her party. Please don't tell me she listened to his accountant. The next day after the advice, he jumped ship to reform, the 23rd former Tory MP to do so. I don't know which is more pitiful, the flood of former Tory MPs deserting her sinking ship, or the Reform Party so desperate to launder any old failed Tory politician.
Right. First of all, that's the first clip, and if you notice something, there's a little theme that carries on through there, but he doesn't really answer any question. That's the first thing. He just turns around and gives a load of waffle and attacks the other side. But again, he's done the wrong thing by the farmers of the UK. He doesn't care, the people that produce your food. But let's go on and just look at the next clip, and then we can go into more depth after we've looked at this one. So, what have we got next? We have got this one.
And I didn't hear an apology to the farmers. Has he even apologised to the member for Penrith, who stood up for farmers only to have the whip removed? This Prime Minister treats his MPs so badly, they follow his lead and he hangs them out to dry every time. Let's turn to another area the Prime Minister has got wrong. His budget doubled business rates for thousands of pubs. So can the Prime Minister tell us, is there going to be any change to his business rates policy?
We also support workers, Mr. Speaker, and that's why we passed our Employment Rights Act. And on Mr. Speaker, on Monday, the Business Secretary and I went to Croydon to discuss our Employment Rights Act with workers there. They were very keen on the paternity rights and the maternity rights, which I know the Leader of the Opposition opposes. And whilst we were there at IKEA, they showed me their new prototype, the IKEA Shadow Cabinet. The trouble is, nobody wants to buy it. It's mainly constructed of old dead wood. And every time you lose a nut, it defects to reform.
Well, again, the man, basically, as far as I can see, has got a new scriptwriter. He's writing jokes for him. But it's not a joke. Do you understand? He didn't answer. There's two questions being asked during that first little spat between the two of them, and he never answers a question, only attacks. He talked about the pubs being closed and all sorts of rubbish, but he doesn't realise that pubs are closing at a faster rate under the Labour Party, which I did mention before we started showing you the videos. The other thing is defections to reform. He forgets to mention that there's many Labour MPs who want to defect to reform. Whether Farage will take them or not, that's another story. Maybe he will. He took Mr. Jenrick the other day, and I think he did well to take him, because they will need some experienced parliamentarians to help them with the new government and the total annihilation of probably both Labour and the Greens and the Liberals, because I think people have had enough. Yes, I am biased, but I'm not biased because I have an allegiance. I'm biased because I can see the writing on the wall. But let's move on. So he's again, one part of this sort of theme. I think you already get it. He doesn't answer questions, but I think you already know that. But there's something else, right? So where we go. So.
Mr. Speaker, he didn't answer the question about business rates. It sounds like he doesn't know what his policy is. And this has been a farce from start to finish. On Monday, the Business Secretary said the Chancellor did not even realise the impact of her business rates policy. No surprise there. But yesterday, the Tax Office said that they did tell the government what the impact would be. So can the Prime Minister be clear? Did he understand the impact of his own policy on pubs?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, we're working with this sector. She hasn't explained why she said nothing about the 7,000 pubs that closed on her watch. We're doing other things on the cost of living to help people, to make sure they can get out, to spend money in pubs and hospitality, boosting the minimum wage. What did they do? They opposed it.
Well, there we go. His answers again are not answers, they're just attacks. There's 7,000 pubs, and it's Mr. Speaker, waffling on and saying nothing. And I think Kemi did very well, again, to task him against giving an answer. He never gives an answer. You know, it just goes on and on and on. And how can you be the leader of a country when you haven't even got the cojones to answer the opposition with an answer that's coherent in regards to the subject you're talking about? No, you can't do it. But let's just move on a little further, shall we? Now, this is something else.
Mr. Speaker, I asked him if he understood the impact of his own policy. He didn't say yes. The reason he U-turns all the time is because he is clueless. He is blowing around like a plastic bag in the wind, no sense of direction whatsoever. And let's be clear, Mr. Speaker, this mess goes beyond pubs. The whole of the hospitality industry, cafes, hotels, restaurants, they're all being clobbered by Labour's tax hikes. There is an answer to this. Conservatives would abolish business rates for small businesses on the high street. Mr. Speaker, yes, they're all chuntering He's already agreeing with us on family farms tax. He's already agreeing with us on digital ID. Why doesn't he make it a hat trick and abolish business rates for the high street?
Mr.
Okay, I'm not going to bother with the answer because there wasn't an answer, but there was a fair question, and all that was being asked was a fair answer, and nothing was forthcoming. Nothing at all was forthcoming. So let's move on. Well, now you've got the picture. You can see one of the things that we know about this man is that he hasn't got any way, shape, or form will he ever answer a question. And that's not good for you, for me, or anybody else who's not, who's trying to get something done by the government. But anyway, it moves on. Let's move on a little bit, shall we? And let's go to the next thing, which I think is quite telling. And it's another question here to Mr. Starmer.
He says no one's going to listen to us. Who's going to listen to him? The winter field allowance, U-turn. Waspy women, U-turn. The two-child benefit cap, U-turn. Grooming gangs inquiry, U-turn. The family farms tax, U-turn. Digital ID, U-turn. Jury trials? U-turn. We hope so. We hope so. I think that's going to be the next one, Mr. Speaker. Week after week, these poor people sitting behind him have to defend the indefensible, only for him to U-turn a few days later. Mr. Speaker, one of his cabinet ministers told a journalist that what's happening at the moment is extraordinarily bad. Another said we've gone through a catastrophic series of missteps. Yet another minister said, we are so unpopular at the moment, I've come to the conclusion it's worth rolling the dice on a new leader. They're right, aren't they?
Mr. Speaker, here's the difference. I changed my party, and that's why we stand here with a majority Labour government. They're queuing up to join the member of Clacton's laundry service for disgraced Tory politicians.
Yes, well, what can I say? Again, for me, this U-turn business, that's all he's ever done. He says he's going to do something, then he changes his mind. In fact, he's the most indecisive person I've ever known in my life. U-turn after U-turn after U-turn. And again, and now I'll tell you what the second thing is. In all exchanges, which is going to show that he is very insecure in regard to his government, is he attacks reform, knowing full well that in the chamber reform will never get to ask a question, because of course I think the leader or the speaker is biased anyway. They never get called, even though they're entitled. So they attack him, they insult them, and yet probably sitting in those five or six people they have, and now they have Mr. Generic as well, they're probably the best hope that Britain's got of surviving. Now, if you don't believe me, it goes on week after week after week where he's running down the opposition. Well, they're not even opposition at the moment. Well, they are opposition because they're the most favoured party, Reform. And he's running them down, they're not, they're running so scared, finding anything they can to try and put it on them. But do not understand that during his tenure, how many of his politicians, and very prominent ones like Angela Rayner and others, who have disgraced his party, and yet he's still there. He said that he made this party, that's why they got the majority. You didn't get a majority because of that, Mr. Starmer. Be a realist. You got a majority because people had enough of the Tories and thought you would probably be the better because you actually spoke a good game before the election. But a lot of people now said they would probably have. In fact, nobody likes you. The rating of you as a prime minister is, it's below the floor. In fact, some people said they'd prefer to have Jeremy Corbyn back. And that's saying something, because that's the guy I hate with vengeance, You're protecting those that shouldn't be protected. You're putting those people in jail that shouldn't be put in jail. You're doing everything. Islamophobia law, we don't need an Islamophobia. So if we do, we need a Sikhist law, and we need a Hindu law, and we need a Buddhist law, and we have a Christian law, and a Catholic law, and a Protestant law to protect them people. Why should one group be singled out and favoured and passing laws in their favour? They should not. The associates of people who say they come from that particular religion are causing havoc around the world. You can't deny it. If you deny it, then you're a fool. Desecrating churches in France and other countries. Breaking into churches. Taking them over. That's going on too. Killing Christians in Nigeria. Over 500,000 apparently. Anywhere there's conflict, 99% of the time there is radical Islamists involved, and they don't come to your country to live in peace, they come to take over. They openly say it. You can go on TikTok or all these other ones where you've got these young preachers saying, we don't come to live with you, we come to take over. And they also say that if when they do take over, that we have to pay to stay alive. Jizya, they call it. Jizya. You have to pay jizya. If you don't pay that, they'll shoot you or kill you. To be protected. All this is going on, and we've got muppets like that in the Parliament. That's the bit that that's why I've shown that. There was lots of other people having a pop at Reform as well during Prime Minister's question time on Wednesday. But I just wanted to show you, he uses it to get out of trouble. He uses it, Starmer, to not answer a question. And this is so sad. This is so sad. Now, I'll leave the last word on this, if you don't believe me. I mean, one of the politicians who I think is brilliant, I think he's a proper bloke, I think he knows what goes on in the streets, he knows what goes on in his constituency, he speaks straight from the hip, he doesn't care, and says it, and he's obviously in Reform, is Lee Anderson. This that I'm going to show you is what he was saying as he was leaving the Prime Minister's question time on Wednesday. Just have a listen.
So, I've just come out of PMQs, and actually, you know, the Labour Prime Minister, he mentions Reform UK a lot, but this one was the worst one ever. I think on nearly every single answer he gave today to the backbench MPs, he mentioned Reform UK or Nice Law. It's just beyond a joke now. So yeah, if you get a chance to look at it, or you did watch it, please drop a comment below, because actually now we are living rent-free in Sir Keir Starmer's head.
Living rent-free in Sir Keir's head. You know, they know and they feel it, but I tell you what, if you've got another 3 years of this government, there will be nothing left of the UK. And I honestly believe that, because as I said at the very beginning of this video, that you are getting attacked on two fronts. You're getting attacked by a super communist socialist government which is backed and pushed with the ideals of the Fabian Society. And I'll keep on. And I do notice that since I mentioned in my last video the Fabian Society, it's been mentioned in mainstream news on some news channels. So obviously somebody else is cottoned onto the fact that that's what it is. And it's there's no secret about it. If you look at the Fabian Society's logo as was, it was a wolf wearing sheep's clothing, and it was to take over. They had originally had a tortoise as well that said, you know, we'll do it slowly from within. We're going to appoint all the judges and the barristers. They're going to put them there. All the places of power in councils, they put them all in there, and then they give the trigger word and they start to disrupt. And you know, it's happening. There's no doubt about that. It's happening. So the Fabian Society got a lot to answer for, and just like the Muslim Brotherhood, they should be banned. But Fabians are all over the world. Right, so that's that. So I just want to move on. A couple of other things on this video, and I don't want it to be too long. But I'm going to talk about right now. I'm going to talk about them too. Yes, J.D. Vance and, of course, Donald Trump. Donald Trump does a lot of good work. I don't care that people, oh, he's honourable, he's done this. You know, I'll tell you what he's doing. I'm going to stick up for him because I'll tell you what he is actually doing. When Biden and Obama were running America, America's status in the world went down. No respect from China, no respect from Russia. And prior to that, they had the world was looked to them like the world, they were the world's policemen. They took care of everybody. And what Donald Trump is trying to put them back in that position to get people to to look towards them as being one of the main powers of the world, and they are, but they were going downhill with the last two presidents, Democrats, of course, in America. And I think that these two, between them, are now putting the power back into America. They're making America great again. That's what they're doing, and we need them to do so. Russia laugh their socks off at Europe. They'll do what they want. Look what they do in Ukraine. They don't care. They go to the table with the Ukrainian leader, or not with the leader, but with people trying to negotiate peace. Oh, yes, and then they just bomb them the same day. Because you know why? Because the European Union and the UN is a sick organisation. They're sick. They've got nothing. They've always relied on America to be a policeman. And he's turned around and said, no, you going to have to pay your way. And rightly so. He's stopped quite a few wars. He did the Gaza thing, which I think is still, it's a shaky piece, but it's there. And I don't think it's going to kick off. And in fact, they're going to look at starting to rebuild. He's threatened Nigeria about the killing of Christians. He makes no bones about it. He will act. He's taken a despot drug dealer who got to be Prime Minister in Venezuela, right, by hook, by hook and crook. And he's removed him. He's freed up the Venezuelan people to, again, hopefully rule themselves and take the benefit of the oil money that's available or will be available. He's also, I think, and I'm not too sure because this is ongoing, he's also, and I'm putting my hands together on this one, because Iran used to be the playground of the East. It was a fantastic place at one time. But the people have had enough and they've rose up, and this despot, Himoni, whatever his name is, she's out of Harry Potter. Come on, what's his name? Anyway, the Ayatollah. He's been deposed. His son has left the country, taken billions moving billions of dollars into banks. Khomeini doesn't want to leave. He says he's going to martyr himself. Well, I hope so. I hope he does it quick. And give the people the freedom. We could see Trump as a hand in all this and threatened, keep killing people and see what happens. And I actually believe him because he does it. And, like he took out their nuclear facility. So stop looking down on the man. He may have had a checkered past. A lot of us have a checkered past. A lot of us done things we shouldn't have done, as I'm sure. You can all look at yourselves. What I say? People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Yeah, well, all right. Leave the man alone. He's doing a great job. And I hope he continues to do a great job for much longer. In fact, I hope he puts sanctions on Starmer because he's not doing a good job at all. In fact, Starmer doesn't count. And now Britain doesn't count. A great power that Britain used to be doesn't count. It's just a little island in the middle of the North Sea who's got no army, got no cojones, and takes all the rubbish from everywhere in the world. That's about sums up the UK. So that's why I just wanted to give a few words and a little mention to a hero, and he is Donald Trump, who's doing great things in the world. And just finally, on Donald Trump, Greenland. Now, I think he'd give every person that lives in Greenland $1 million and they'd be happy. Yeah, they can have it. But don't look at him and say, oh, he's going to annex a country, he's already got agreements. He can have as many bases as he wants there already. He's already got that agreement. What are Denmark claiming? It's ours. No, it's not yours. Put it this way. Denmark, you're not looking after them. What you got? A couple of rocket launchers and 2 tanks, and you're protecting the entry to Canada and to the US by an aggressive state. Russia's there, and it needs protecting. And I don't think it would affect the people in Greenland. It was 600,000. Too much if they were to be not annexed but actually protected, become a protectorate of America. That's what they should be, and I'm sure they'd be a lot better off too. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Don't forget the old git. That's me. I'd like you to let's get rid of that. You can see bestbeforetv.com, bestbeforet, that's on X, and bestbeforetv@gmail.com. Get in touch with me, send me something and some feedback. And also, if you go onto Rumble, you can actually give me a tip. Yeah, because I do this all for nothing. Pay for it out of my own pocket. Love doing it though. And but a little bit of help along the way. It'd be nice. Buy me a cup of coffee or whatever. Anyway, that's not the first thing. I'll never stop doing this. I think that somebody has to say something, and I feel I'm the one who has to say it. So look, what's more important to me is getting this video around. So share it with your friends, put a like on it, or whatever you have to do, do it, and I'll be very happy. So until the next time, it's the old git saying stay safe, and I'll just play us out with this, and till the next time.